With that said, yesterday we had a discussion about a conversation we wanted to have, and one of the conversations we want to have is talking our sellers into pricing correctly. So I'm going to stop that for now. Um, for those of you who go on listing appointments, right now it's very important. Affordability is a big issue. Uh, most, not, and I'll just rehash this a little bit, but most listings right now on average are selling 2% below the actual list price in our area. So just know that even if your comps a certain way, you're going to want to make sure you're probably pricing. I'd recommend a price somewhere between 2 and 5% below the comps, just to actually move the property. That's just where the stats are. How do I get my sellers to actually recognize that? Um, is 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 one thing. Um, so assume we're on a listing appointment, and I've done this verbally, but I'm going to do it visually here for you guys. What I really do. Um, so when I'm with a listing appointment, I'm in the seller's house, and usually I walk it first, try to understand their personalities, um, try to identify any issues, amenities that I'd like to highlight, or issues that I need to talk with them about. I usually do that on the walkthrough. I also try to engender conversation, trust, and rapport during that walkthrough of the house. Those are my goals when I do a walkthrough. I usually carry something, paper with me so I can just write down things as I go through. If you talk to people and write down things at the same time as you're walking through the house, it makes it look, it's a subconscious thing to make people think that you're listening to them. So it's a good way to up the level of trust just from walking with the house and engendering a good conversation and listening. So, two, once I'm ready, I talk about other issues on the listing appointment. I ask them, um, I go over their goals again, what they're trying to achieve, why they're trying to achieve it. So, and then I ask them, is there any issues? What is there any issues that would make them stay up at night, wake up in the middle of the night stressed, that concerns them about moving, selling, this whole process? And I ask each spouse that. I do that to, one, it will prevent, it brings objections that you don't know up to the forefront. So if I do that question and I ask each spouse that, because they'll have different personalities, and each spouse will have, if they're a spouse, I should assume, they will have different answers, different concerns, different anxieties. So when I ask them that question, I go deep on it, because that is the objections you're going to get. For example, the husband may say, I'm just worried about getting the best price, the most value, hitting the number we need to make this move happen. I want the most money. Fantastic. So that's what she is. And I've had this discussion. I asked the wife, what's the wife, what do you think will keep you at night? She's like, this is our home. This is where our kids grew up. I just want to make sure. And literally, I've had this sold to me. I just want to make sure it's sold to a good family. I don't want an investor. I don't want people like that. I want someone who's a family man. And I said, okay, fantastic. And the husband's rolling his eyes, but that's okay, right? But I want to make sure she feels good about it. So now I know their goals, their personal objections. So if I'm pushing for things that aren't, I can address those objections. If they have concerns about the process, I can talk to those concerns right then. What that generally does is removes any objections later on when I ask to sign. So once we get through pricing, if I ask to sign and they pause, it's because I didn't address certain objections up front. So I use that question time to observe, to get those questions out, those objections out, and address them before I talk price, because my goal is to price to sign, right? So I have found that is the best process for me on a talk track to get them to sign that day. I don't work to sign another day. I don't work to docu-sign them the listing agreement later. I work to get them to sign that listing agreement in person that day at the appointment. Um, so with that said, once I'm through that conversation point, I say, hey, sounds like, and once we've answered a bunch of questions, I feel like, the conversation's going good. They feel good. I say, sounds like we're ready to talk about price. And generally they say, yeah. And then the thing I say is, okay, before we talk about price, I know you looked at comps. I'm probably sure you looked on Zillow or whatever they told me usually. So I know you looked on Zillow and a few other things. So I know you have you have an idea about price point. But before we talk about price, can we talk about how how pricing works to get the value, to get the maximum value we can for your home? And they're like, yeah, we'd love to talk about how pricing and marketing and these things work to get us the best value of home. Fantastic. Let's talk about this. So, and then hold on, I'll bring it. I bust this out. Sorry, I had it up, but I accidentally deleted it. Not deleted it, closed it. Okay, so I then bring this up. This is a pricing triangle. It's in a lot of pre-made, pre-templated listing appointment packets, which you can get. You've probably seen it before. If you haven't, it's okay. This is your first time, but I'm going to introduce you. But I literally bring it out. And I say, let's talk about the good part. And this is my talk track. So, and this is, we're recording this, so you can get this recording now. My talk track is, hey, let's talk about how pricing will affect our ability to maximize the value of your home, to get you the most money. Let's talk about that. And they're like, fantastic. So I said, I boil up there. The good part about real estate is everything's public. When we record the sales, all the data is recorded out there. And because all the data is recorded out there, we have very good knowledge about how houses sell and what's the way to maximize the value of your home. Fantastic. And so when I pull out the pricing pyramid, and so this pricing pyramid is based on the data that we aggregate across the United States for real estate about how houses sell. And I go, and I know you understand the basic concepts of it. If you overprice a home, it's going to be harder to sell because less people will look at it. And if you underprice a home, you're going to get a lot of people and a lot of traffic. And they're like, yeah, I understand that concept. So that's what the pricing pyramid is based on. So, and this, assuming on the left side here is the value of your home. What is the market value of your home? Sorry, let me close the door. I'm having work. Sorry. What is the market value of the home? And when we say market value, this means we hit it right. That means the listing price that we set for the house is what the market can bear, meaning that's the price that buyers are willing to buy your home at, right? The actual value of your home in real life, in reality. And then we can go above that. If we're 10% above it, if we're 15% above that market value, whatever we're going to talk about, and then also you can go to below, 10, 15% below. On the right side of the pyramid, it shows how many buyers, that means there's buyers in Sacramento right now, and how many buyers, if I price it at a certain above or below or at market value, how many are likely going to come see your home? And I go, Mr. Seller, this is very important because the amount of offers I can get on your home is going to determine how I maximize the value. Because the one way that we get absolute control and leverage in a negotiation with buyers is if we have multiple offers on your house. Mr. Masello, do you agree? If we have multiple offers, we can then counter, we can negotiate, we have leverage. Multiple people love and want your home to get the best deal for you on the best terms and timelines you want. And they're like, yeah, that would be awesome. I agree. Okay, fantastic. Mr. Masello, do you also agree no one is going to fall in love with your home, offer, and sign higher counter offers in this market that we shove in front of them unless they actually see your home? They have to see your home and they have to fall in love with it. Do you agree, Mr. They're like, absolutely. Great. Okay, great. So that means how pricing affects that is people who think the house is too expensive will not view the home. They'll see it online. They think it's too expensive or overpriced. They will just not view the home. And in fact, even if I price it at market value, only about 60% of the buyers in the market in your neighborhood or looking in your neighborhood market will actually come see the home. Now, if I price it 10% above, and actually this market is so rate affordable, affordability has such an affordability issue that actually, and I would, if I do this pyramid, I'd literally write on there, cross out 10%, I'd write 5%. If I'm 5% above where I should be at market value, I'm going to lose half the showings, meaning 60% of the buyers would have come seen your home, and now I'm going to lose half of that, people, if we were just 5% off on price. And Mr. Marcella, if I went and it says 15% above, I go, no, that's 10. If we're 10% above price, I'm going to only get 1 in 10 buyers. That means of the buyers looking in your neighborhood for houses in your neighborhood, I'm only going to get 1 of the 10 of those to show up at your house and actually see your house. So, Mr. Marcella, it's very, very, very important. If we want multiple offers, which is the way we maximize the most value for your home, which you said you wanted, and you want it on your terms and your timelines, which, ma'am, you said you want to see who is the best buyer for your house, then the best thing you can help me is get the house at market value or below. And you can see if we go below, I'd say not even 10%, 5%. And actually, I bust out the trends and I say, hey, look, right now, actually, most people are closing 2%, not including credits, 2% below market value right now, comp value on the price. So I tell people like, okay, so if we're 5% below market value, not 10, I would get a lot of buyers at 75%. And I cross up to the 10% below market value on the price, I'm going to get every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come to your house. And the open houses are going to be crazy. And we're going to have a bunch of offers. All right. So now most of my sellers want to do market value, but sometimes my sellers want to do less than market value to increase the speed, negotiability, and terms you want. And depending on sometimes on the sellers, if they want that speed, I recommend a price that's below market value to give them the speed and terms they want. This is if they want a quick sell or they want control and they're really a quick sell, I'll do that as well. So I give them that option. But I say, so it's very important, Mr. Seller, that we price it at or below market value to maximize the number of people who see your home. That way, a subset of those people will love an offer on your home. And then I can use my negotiating skills of experience to get you the best value, terms, and buyer that you want for your home. Do you agree with this? And they do you agree with these fundamentals of the market? And they're like, yes, I agree. Fantastic. So let me tell you some other things, because a lot of my sellers want to test the price out, a high price out. And then if it doesn't work, they want to drop the price later. And I used to draw this. Let's see if it's whiteboards. Can everyone see? Oh, can everyone see this whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay. And I would draw this, but you can make one. I had one somewhere, so I would draw this. And I literally take out a piece of paper. So let me tell you something about pricing. This is number of showings. Oh, you need to say, why'd you draw mine?
I'm sorry, I touched it.
Yeah. So sorry, this is a whiteboard for all. So sorry. So I say this is number of showings. And this is days on market. And I go, this is another part about pricing your home that we understand that, and this is, this is day 0, say this is day 7, this is day 14, this is day 21, and this is day 30, save the listing. Okay. We know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that when we put a house on the market, it goes quickly up there because of social media, internet, those things. It's going to get out there pretty quickly. That's why I recommend we list on Thursday. And the number of showings we're going to have is going to go like this. And frankly, it's so quick in this market, and you guys know this from anything. After about 7 days, that's why you all want open houses on the first weekend. You know that, right? It just trickles. That makes sense? Now, we need to make sure that this part is as big as possible. Because if we get to the trickle part and we don't have an offer, we are not going to have leverage. We're going to get an offer from one buyer, and we don't control the terms because they're the only game in town and they have multiple options. They can go to another house. So I need to make sure that we maximize this part as much as possible. Now, here is the problem. If you overprice the home, and this is where we see the reduction, instead of 60%, imagine if I am 5% over, I said it's going to reduce by half. It's going to look like that. And if I'm 10% overpriced, it's going to look like this. And I'll literally write it out. Now, if you want to reprice it later, here's the problem. This is just a psychology of buyers, and we studied this a lot. When buyers look at a home, they are not looking to qualify it, they're looking to disqualify it. And the first time they look at a home online, literally they are looking to whether I should look at this home or I should not look at this home. And once they decide to not look at the home because one, it's not what they want, or two, it's overpriced, they are not going to look at it again. You would have to do such a dramatic price drop to get them to look at it again that you're probably not going to want to do that price drop. And in fact, what would happen is if we overpriced it too much, it would look like this. And even when you do a price reduction, we're going to get a little bump, and it's going to go like that. The reason is the only people I'm going to capture is the people that are new since we listed, that have come onto the buyer market, and now that we may have dropped into their price range now. Make sense? And now they're looking at it for the first time because now it's in the price range. All right. So I'm not going to get a whole bunch. So Mr. and Miss Seller, help me help you. If we're going to sell well and in the timeline you want, and for the most money you want, is I need multiple offers. I need this first 7 days to look as big as possible. And that is important that we get at market value or below market value when we list your home initially to make that happen. Otherwise, what happens is we don't get this. You get mad at me. You're unhappy because we don't have showings. You have kids. Every day you're going to have to make sure that you put everything away in the kitchen. The kids clean up the rooms every day for showings that may or may not happen, right? And so I don't want that for you. It's not a pleasant experience. It's very hard to maintain your home in showing quality condition all the time, especially if you're working. So it's very important that we make this listing happen right at the beginning with the bang. And do you understand that part? And I have never had a seller not say that makes sense, right? They say, okay, yes, I told them this is buyer behavior, right? Makes sense. So, all right, are we clear? Everyone clear so far on this discussion? Any questions? I'm going to pause here for questions. Okay, no questions. Okay. One thing I want to point out, one level is if you get good at, when I do listing appointments, if you get good at drawing these graphs, like I just drew that one. Drawing graphs and talking to people at the same time is a subconscious trust enhancer, meaning people believe you are an expert if you can do it at that level. That means, and that's very, very important. that you need to impart on your sellers. The sellers always will believe, and this, if you have a hard time getting your seller price, the sellers will always believe they are right on price more than you. And the only way you're going to get them off that is you have to make them believe that you're the expert on pricing and they're not, and question their logic and ability so that you can then bring in your logic and ability to set the price you want. And that's very important. So when I was doing listings at a high level, I would practice drawing these. And I even ended up learning how to draw the triangle upside down. So I ended up drawing it upside down, and I always draw the graph because I wanted to illustrate things and write on it, because as I'm talking and I do it, it makes them feel good. At the least, I would make these graphics and like print them out for the listing point. I would put it in front of them, and like I said, cross out the 10%, cross out the 15%. I would cross those things. I would write on it to do certain things to make sure that even if you have a graph and you're writing on it and adjusting it in real time, it does make you look like an expert as well. So even if you're just doing it at that level, it will greatly help you in the eyes of your sellers that you are an expert on pricing. Okay, and that's very important. The stage you do is very important to talk about pricing. So, and I want to keep this real. So, does anyone have a listing or a listing appointment they're going on, or an address? I want to just pull up random comps and we're going to talk about this. So,
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, someone want to give me an address?
1600 Beltway.
1600 Feltway, is that correct?
Yes, Belt.
Velt?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just pull up a radius here.
1600 Beltway.
Belt? B-E-L-T?
Yeah, B-E-L-T.
Way? Sacramento?
Yes, Sacramento, California, 95825.
All right, I'm just pulling up a radius search quarter mile on this. I don't know. So, all right, hey, we got a decent amount. Okay, so I'm going to, they changed this. So I just pulled up the radius. This is a quarter mile. What's the house specs?
It's 1,200 square feet. 1232.
Okay, perfect.
3-bed, 2-bath.
Can everyone see the comps on the page? I'll make them bigger. Everyone see that? Okay.
Yes.
I haven't looked at this house. I don't know anything, but just assume this is the house. And I pulled up just random comps for it, and they all seem pretty accurate because it seems a pretty uniform neighborhood. So perfect. So I said, after I have that discussion with the two graphs, and I do one more talk track with that. Sorry. When I draw this, the graph, I say, now we know two things. We know things that affect the value of your home. This is something you need to talk about too. And this also is why, another reason why you shouldn't price high and then drop later, is we know that price, and we know condition of your home and price of your home affects the value of the home, right? We know that. But there is a third thing that affects the value of your home that most people don't understand, and that's called days on market. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'll say, for example, sir, you and your wife are selling here and you're going to move to Texas. I assume you're already looking at homes online in Texas, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, now I'm sure you've seen homes when you're looking online. Some are new on market, yeah. And some are 100 days on market, 68 days on market, 97 days on market. And they're like, yeah. And I go, what if I was your Texas agent and I'm showing you homes? You're out there looking at homes, and I take you to a home that you actually like, and it's 102 days on market. What are you going to think about that house? What do you think they're going to say?
That nobody wants it.
Yeah, nobody wants it. There's got to be either something wrong with the condition of the house, or it's overpriced, because why would it be 102 days on market, right? So, and I said, even if you like that house and it was 102 days on market and you wanted to offer on that house, would you offer list price?
No.
And they would say, no. I guarantee right now, if you took a buyer right now in Sacramento and you have a buyer and you showed them a listing that they like and it was 100 plus days on market, do you think that buyer will want to offer list price? They
No.
won't. And the reason is because days on market affect perception of value of the property. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you understand? If we have a little bump and we just trickle along and we get to 30, 45, 60, 75 days on market, I am literally losing value on your home as the days go on. Because days on market affect the value of your home. And the longer it's on the market, the more likely we're going to get lower offers, and more likely we're going to have people not show it because they either think it's overpriced or they think something's wrong with the home. So it's very important that we manage our days on market. And if we do a price correction later, a high price correction later, that's the reason that even if I'm later and do the price correction, I'm still going to get lower offers, because we're going to have a high number on the days on market, and buyers are going to assume that we are desperate and negotiable, and that we're going to negotiate. So they're like, okay, that sounds good. And I go, okay, sounds like we're ready to talk about the comps. Now, here's the key. The comps need to justify what you just said. The comps, that the talk track I just had, they need to justify what you said. And just to prove it, I pulled up these comps, and I don't even know this house. So here we go. So I said, Mr. Masella, let's talk about the comps. I have active comps here. Look, here's an example of a seller who is your neighbor who overpriced their home at the beginning. Look, they are 63 days on market. They have not sold, and they originally priced it at 415. They're at 405, and they're not even close to selling. They have not even sold. Look at this person. They're only 12 days on market. They were at 545, and then they dropped to 499 in less than 12 days. They dropped it almost $50,000. That's a seller that looks. Now, Mr. Seller, if you were interested, if you were a buyer in that market and you just saw your seller after 12 days drop at $40,000, do you think you're going to come in with an at-list price offer on this house, even though it was 12 days on market? No, because you just saw them drop at 50. Obviously, they're desperate to move, right? So these are examples where pricing your house inappropriately at the beginning has dramatic effects on your ability to get offers in and control the negotiations and control the terms and conditions of your offers. Now let's look at the solds. Let's see. Look at this one. 245 days on market. Man, they were trudging. They must have helped. They priced at 385. They had to drop it to 350, and finally when they closed, they closed at 325, 7% less. This person chased the market on their price. Their actual price of their market value on the home was 325, and they priced it originally at 385. How much is that? That's almost 15% above market value. So remember that pyramid, Mr. Seller? They were at 15% above market value, and because of that, it took them 242 days to close. And in fact, they're actually probably less. And as you can see, they chased the market because of those days on market. Their offer was actually the lowest sale in the neighborhood. That means they probably could have got more money based on the other comps. They would have got more money for their home if they didn't chase the market for 242 days. And I'll show you how. Look at this. This person got 103% of value home. They got higher. They had multiple offers, and they were 14 days on market because they priced it at 333. and they priced it at, they probably priced, and they either priced at market value a little lower than market value likely, and they got a 343 offer 14 days on market. Is that not what we want, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? Are we like, yeah. So look at this person started at 385. This person went 373. Look at this one. This person chased the market too. They were 94 days on market. They priced at 367. They left it there, but because they left it there and they're trying to be, strong, we need this value. But in the end, they went to 345, 94% left. They got a 6% reduction from list price to sell price. And let's do this at 15 days, 353. Look at this person, 100% of market value. 15 days, 350, 350, 350. Look at this one, 21 days on 420, 420, 415, 90. They were a little overpriced. 6 days on market. Look at this, 6 days on market. This is an example of a seller who underpriced their home to get control of the terms they want. 6 days on market. That means they got an offer. They had multiple offers. They got 6 days on market only. They priced at 419, but they ended up at 440. And look at that. They priced the least, but they got the most money. Now, Mr. and Miss Seller, based on these comps, what do you think the value, the market, and I don't say what you think the value is, I think, what do you think is the market value of your home? Pause. What does everyone think about this discussion?
Great.
Really
The discussion makes sense.
Super
It's
informative.
I actually like that you brought up this point because I take the days on market into consideration when I'm scheduling an open house. And I didn't real well, it makes sense. The bias makes sense because I've been doing it.
Yeah, I mean, anything I'm saying is logical. It's not illogical. Does that make sense? I can tell you when I say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what do you think the market value of your home is after this discussion? I would say 75% of the time, they ask me what I think the value of the house should be.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you would like to control what the house is listed at?
I would love that.
I would love that too.
So
Because
if there's a property that's on the market,
if I were able to set the price, I'm going to have a lot more listings that actually sell.
Mm-hmm.
Would everyone agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
In an instance like this,
random comps that I don't even know the house, and how the comps literally told the story that I just told you. This is how I get sellers to price appropriately. And literally what we have debates about is what is market value? Can we go a little bit higher? Can we go a little bit lower? That's literally the negotiation. And usually I'm telling them what I believe market value is, and they're kind of coming to meet me there. Make sense? Question. You have a question for this?
Yeah. In the instance, like if you have a stubborn seller who doesn't want to give you as much leeway as you recommend for the listing price, what is the longest you would suggest to keep it on the market before taking it off and trying again maybe another year so that it doesn't look like it's just been on market indefinitely? Because I see some listings that's been up since May and we're getting ready for July.
And Metrolist won't reset the days on market unless you go 30 plus days. I mean, literally like 31 days you have to go.
Okay.
So I don't even tell. And I've literally had sellers tell me, John, it all makes sense. I believe what you say, the value of the home is actually the market value is actually is right, but I need this amount, and they want some higher, and I don't care. I want this amount, and then you need to decide as a listing agent if you want that house. Now, maybe at the beginning of my career, I'd say yeah, and try to beat them up, or just get a sign in the yard, maybe, or two. I would say, hey, that's not, I don't, and this is a script I would use, or a conversation I would use. I would say, you know what, I appreciate that. One, why do you think you need that value? So often you can discern that. That'll help out, get to that need if you don't know. Two, I would say, I appreciate that. But the reason I'm talking to you and you're talking to me is I sell homes. I don't do Disneyland, although I love Disneyland. I don't do Disneyland in my real estate business because I don't do airy fairy fake. I tell people what the value of a home and what it's going to take to sell your home. And that's what I do. And the reason I do that, and that's the reason I have the sales I have. And my customers refer me and give me good reviews is because I don't tell them I don't give them snow. So I'm telling you that price is gonna, if you want to assist that price, but then I say, and sometimes if I want the listing still, I'll say, I'll give you that price, but I want 7 days. I'm dropping it after 7 days. And in fact, when I drop it, I'm going to take it off market and relist it right away. It's still going to show 7 days on market, but I want to show it new. And it's going to be at the lower price that I recommend. Within 7 days, if your price is correct and I'm wrong, and it maybe I'm wrong and you're right, then I would say, then let's try 7 days. So that's one thing. If they want to take on a lift next year, we are advising the client right now. The client, we went to the client and we've dropped he's like, they want their price. And I said it should have a 4 in front of it. They wanted 5. It's a family friend, so they're pushing it. So I said, okay, we'll list it here, but you're going to have pain. And we've been 40 days on market, no offers, showings, but no offers. And I said, I told you we need a 4 in front, but now we're chasing the market. And so she's like, let's put it at 499. We did chasing the market. I said, no, you need to be like 475 because now we're chasing the market. I said, we can take it off the market, put it back on in 30 days. We can rent it out if you want to, but now you've chased the market. We have to go really low. And they came back and says, no, let's drop it to 475. Let's get it sold. So I even have sellers that don't listen to me. I would say, but that's about 25% of the time. It's your decision if you want to carry on with that listing, right? That's up to you. But I can tell you, how many of you who have experience have had a listing that you've taken a long time to sell and you had to beat up the seller on price over time? And if you ever had that experience, if you haven't had, but if you do, I want to say this, it's a painful experience. The relationship gets very frayed over time, and probably they're not going to refer you after the sale. Make sense? So if you want that experience, I don't want that anymore, but I understand. But you need what? But this whole talk track, I'm going to end it with this. You need to understand the value of your home that you're listing. That's the number one thing. You need to be confident about the value. You need to walk into the home and know a high, average, and low value. Everyone says their house is great or whatever, but you need to understand if the house is totally nice and done and beautiful, what the value is. If it's just average, what the value is. And if it's low, if it's messy and broken, what the value is. And you need to know that going into the listing appointment. And you need to be able, as you do the walkthrough, solidify yourself in your brain what you think the value of the home is, because that's what you're going to pitch on the market value at the end. Okay. How many of you believe you can do this talk track?
I do.
Okay. And this is what I want to tell you guys that most of you don't understand is these are the subtle soft skills that agents don't understand that separate the top agents from the mega agents from not. Is they set up their discussions, they set up control, they come off as an expert, and they manage their clients, and they're able to create trust and influence with their clients in a short period of time to get the results they want. And this is how those people sell more houses, have less listings on the market, and things like that. Does it make sense? So they get it better. So I want you guys to understand these are the skills. Now, we have 2 ways we can go on this. We can go to how to comp a home properly, how to come to those values. We can make that happen discussion tomorrow. I notice a lot of agents have trouble feeling confident about their comps. Do you want to have that discussion tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the feedback. This is the feedback loop. Okay. So I'm gonna send this recording to you. Now, you're not gonna do this talk track well unless you just practice it. And I recommend practicing it with your significant other or spouse. Try to convince them. Try to convince your significant other that you are actually an expert in real estate.
John, I have a question.
Yes.
The 7 day, for example, that you've mentioned, you said, all right, I'll do it for you for 7 days. What are the conditions that you say will warrant a price reduction? What do you
No,
say
I'll say
exactly?
this. We'll do your price for 7 days. We do my price after.
Oh, okay. So no conditions required, like no,
No,
like,
the only thing is if we don't have an offer after your time period, we automatically drop the price. And they'll
I like,
negotiate with me. I've negotiated. They've said no 10, 14. I've had that negotiation. But I'll say, you can do your price and I'll get my price.
And
But
then,
when I drop my price, I'm going to cancel and relist the home at the price right then. It's still going to show the 14 days of 10, 7, 10 to 14 days on market. But I just want to show up new at my price and my market value. Are you okay with that?
so quick question. You cancel the whole thing and then repost it so it starts at
Yeah,
zero? Is that why?
you'll get a decent bump. You'll get a bigger bump than just dropping the price. Not an initial new bump, but you'll get a bigger bump if you cancel and
But on the record, it does show that it's been on there
yeah,
before.
it'll show there. But it'll show up on Zillow like new and all that, right? So
Okay,
what happens is you'll get the people to look at it again one
okay.
time. You get
Which is
one
the
offer.
purpose,
Most of
right?
them will look at it one time. I usually actually what I tend to do if I do that, I'll like change the front photo too, just to make it look a little different, to make
Yeah,
it
that
even just
makes
a different
sense.
angle,
Yeah,
just to try and get another look at it. But it's got to look sexy right up front, and because otherwise they're going to feel like they got catfished, right? So
makes sense. Okay,
that's a trick you can learn. It's not going to get you a great bump. It's going to get you a bigger bump than just dropping the price, though. So,
okay, thank you.
any other questions? Okay. We're going to talk about comps. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to, at close, when you got to a value on a home, to use your phone to show them their net proceeds on the home so that you get them to sign. Okay. Listing. So we talked about how to talk about the comps. We talked about how to comps. We're going to talk about doing the comps, and then we're going to talk about how to close. Okay. Those are going to be our next couple days, next maybe 2 or 3 days. Got it? Okay. Sorry, I went a little long on this huddle. I know this talk track, the other tracks will be quicker, but thank you everyone for sticking around. Hope this was helpful to you.
It was. Thank you.
If you want
Thank
recording,
you.
get the recording, practice. This is a skill that will help you sell a lot more homes by pricing them appropriately and looking like an expert. The biggest thing is you'll look like an expert and you'll have influence with the sellers. That means the sellers will listen to what you say, which is golden, right? Okay. Thank you, everyone.